Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Holistic Podcasting. I am your host, Kristen Chadwick, your podcast coach. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but I have switched around the name a little bit here on the podcast to say Holistic Podcasting, Podcast Coaching for Christian Female Entrepreneurs. You guys, I really wanted to hone in on who my target niche is. And so that's why I changed the name. If you want a little tip, your show should be pointing people to what your show is about. If you have a show name, like if you're using Kristen Chadwick Show or something like that, then make sure your tagline is going to be pointing you to who your specific audience is. So just a little quick tip today there. Now, as we move forward, right now, as this releases, it's going to be Thanksgiving week. And I am excited to bring to you something that I'm really passionate about. I love this topic. It's all about gratitude and reflection. And one of the things I really enjoy doing is going through my journals, through my notes on my phone, and really just reflecting back both personally and professionally. And as a life coach at heart, I love taking inventory on my whole life. And I really think that it's very important. And I want to encourage you to do this today with me as well. We have just over a month until that calendar is going to flip into the new year of 2023. And the value of doing these reflective exercises cannot be emphasized enough, because the value of looking back is going to know, you're going to know how it's going to propel you forward. And I'm going to say that multiple times during this episode. I also want to say, because my faith anchors me in everything that I do, I'm going to be bringing in more conversations about partnering up with the Father or the Trinity. So you pick who are you most connected to right now in this season. And for me, I keep picturing the Father coming next to me. So my CEO, or I am the CEO, God is the CEO. I have a board, which is the Trinity. So even if you are not a believer, if you are listening to this and you're like, oh, I'm out because she's talking about God, hold tight. I really encourage you to just stay and really dig into what your truth is inside of you, because this is going to apply for you too. For me personally, my faith is the anchor inside of my podcast and inside of my podcast management company and everything that I do. So for this episode, it's kind of a unique episode. So it's going to be a little bit more of a guiding, leading through a coaching journal prompt, basically. So it's going to take about 30 to 60 minutes to do this. You can be pausing the episode. You can schedule this into your calendar, because I really think this is the most pivotal thing that you could do to move your business forward in 2023. You've got to do this. Along with this episode, I created a downloadable journal for you to have. It's $12. I'm going to put a link in my website down below in the show notes. Again, it's $12. You guys, this is a priceless thing that you can be doing. So just so you know, that's going to be down below if you want to have a handhold of what we're talking about today. Otherwise, you can listen to this for free and write it down in your own journal. So if you are a big journaler like I am, grab this year's journals. For me, if you're watching this video, I have stacks. I was going to pull out my journals, but maybe you can see it down there. But I have stacks of books from this year of journals. It's been a very big writing year. It's been a year of a big reflection and processing and really taking the time to write down all of my thoughts. So I have a lot of journals to go through. Maybe you have notes in your phone that you can pull up, and even looking at your past calendar is going to be helpful too. So make sure that you have your phone ready to do that. So if you're driving, I encourage you, let's pause or you can come back to this and listen to it again and do this intentionally. All right, so we're going to pause here, and I want you to just take a deep breath. And I want us to just ask God for eyes to see and ears to hear what he's been doing in this past year. And I want you to remember too that Jesus is always kind. He is the definition of 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind. That is Jesus himself. So remembering to have that lens on your eyeballs and your ears and that perspective. And remember, this is fun and playful. I want you to enjoy this process as you look back on 2022. So on a piece of paper or on your phone, I want you to start with this journal prompt here. Looking back over 2022, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for in your business? And go ahead and pause, write it down for each of these. What are you grateful for in your podcast? What are you grateful for in your life? What are you grateful for in your family? What are you grateful for in your marriage or in your relationships? What are you grateful for in your own personal growth journey? And what are you grateful for in your wellness journey? Okay. Now, as you look back, where have you seen God open doors or close doors to your podcast or your business? And I want you right now, just focusing on gratitude. We're not moving ahead yet. I want you to just thank him for those nudges. Now, number three, what we're going to do is we're going to think about one person in particular that God has brought into your path through podcasting. Maybe it's your mom. She's your number one fan. Or maybe it's someone you've never met in person. I want you to take a minute and just thank God for that person and sit in gratitude of this interaction that you've had with this person, because you are creating an impact and you are bringing light into this world. So take a moment and just think about that one person, or maybe it's multiple people, but let's start with one. And I want you to just thank God for bringing that person into your life. All right, as we move forward, we're going to hit on reflection. So we talked about gratitude. I always think that we need to start with gratitude. It's just part of my faith journey, is when we come to Jesus, to the Father, with a grateful heart. If you think about the parable of the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, did I just mix that up? I can't remember, but I've been studying it a lot, which is funny that just went out of my brain. Anyway, he thanks God first before he breaks the bread, right? So in that process, we are thanking God for all that he's done and submitting that to him and just saying thank you. So now, as we've done that, and we turn our hearts to reflection with that layer and foundation of gratitude. Reflection means serious thought and consideration. And you guys know my favorite buzzword right now, which I wish I could come up with a different word, but intention is where this is. This is where we can see all of those intentions that we have done in the last year show up? So again, let's reflect with the lens of learning, growing, and understanding, right? Okay, so here we go. We're going to ask this question and you're going to write it down in your journal. What shows in your podcast episode have you heard the most feedback? Have people reached out to you via email, social media with questions or comments on your Facebook page, or replied back to LinkedIn post or a newsletter that you've sent out? I want you to just sit and reflect. What were the things that people responded to? And take note of that. And I want you to write it down and have that there for you to reflect on. We are called to serve well, and this shows where you are hitting a certain pain point in your listener, or a nerve, or a much needed space of encouragement for your listeners. So this is important to know as you move forward. All right, second question. What shows have your highest download numbers? And is there a theme? So you can head into your hosting platform. I use Libsyn, and so I would go into Libsyn. I'd take a look to see were my highest performing shows, and see where those downloads have spiked. Maybe it was a certain guest, maybe it was a certain topic, and just reflect on that. What is the theme there? And I want you to notice, I'm not going to talk about your total download numbers, because I think that's irrelevant right now of what we're doing. We're just looking at your rhythms of your episodes. Where are people truly connecting? Where are people sharing? Where are your most feedback? See how we're like bringing all of this together. This is all a part of the reflection, so that when you move forward next year, you know where it's resonating with your people. Now, speaking about resonating, I want you to think about what has resonated with your listeners, but this is the third question. What show resonated with you the most and felt like you were in a sweet spot for yourself? What settled into your being? Because let me define resonance for you. It's when a sound which produced by an object vibrates at the same rate as the sound waves from another object. So you've all heard like harmony, like if you can see me on the screen, it's waves, right? And it's matching the waves perfectly. So a resonant moment is when you feel peace, harmony, and joy all at the same time. So what brought you life to speak about on your podcast? When did you feel like you were stepping into your true identity? And does it match up with what resonated most with your your listeners through your download numbers? And just reflect on that. Fourth question is, what in your business or life has moved the needle for you in revenue? So I'm going to fine tune that. What in your podcast has moved the needle for you in revenue? You can do this for your business, for your life, if you have a coaching business or a networking business outside of this. But right now, let's focus on the podcast. What has moved the needle forward for you in your revenue? And if nothing has, then that's okay. That is information on how we can move forward, right? So when you look back and you see what has brought in income for you, write that down, and I'll share a little bit about me. So for me, I decided to go public last year with our podcast management business. I had started it on my own. Well, I started podcasting in the podcast world, working for someone else in 2016. But in 2020, I went off on my own in January 2020 and created a little side hustle of podcast management. And it just kept growing and growing and growing, and just felt like the Lord was emphasizing that this is where He's called me to be. And so last November, I had a complete revelation of, oh, I should make this public. I should tell people on social media that I am a podcast management business. I should go to networking groups and say that I am an owner of a podcast management business and do podcast coaching. And so that was what happened last November. And then January was when I went public. And that right there was the biggest needle mover for myself in revenue, because I started to talk about it publicly. Wow, my mouth is doing tongue twisters today. So, what is it in your business that is moving that needle forward? Maybe it's a certain course that you put out this year. Maybe it's coaching one-on-one. Maybe it was joining forces with someone else in a collaboration. Maybe it was joining a new networking group, which leads me into the next question. Who are the new people that God's brought into your life this year, and how has it impacted you? Now, for me, one of the things, like I just said, was networking. So the amount of new people that I have met in all kinds of businesses and in all parts of the world has been so incredibly moving. I'm grateful for the vessel of social media, for online networking, for in-person networking. Those are the things that really has impacted me. And God has brought so many beautiful, new, amazing people into my life, whether they are new podcast clients of mine or they're just connections and our hearts are connected. Man, I am so grateful for all of these women and men too that I have met that we're all spurring each other on. So just take a moment and reflect about that in your own business, of the new people that God's brought into your life this year and how it's impacted you. All right, sixth question is, what was a key investment you made? Was it hiring a coach, hiring a VA, taking a course? And write that down. All right, seventh question. What did you learn as the CEO of your business this year? This is a huge question, and it's going to take some time to unpack. But I really want you to take a moment and just think about, what did you learn as a CEO? And even if you're not the CEO of your business, what have you learned this year? I think it's really important that we reflect back and really let it soak in what we have grown in as a human. Number 8, as you look back, what are some of the things that you notice or you wish you knew then as you know now? So if I looked back at January, what would I do differently now that I know what I know? And I want you, or me, I guess, as I'm doing this right now, I want you to write down and reflect what that is. So it could be, I should have hired my VA sooner, or I didn't know that I needed to do that challenge with this coach. I should have hired a coach sooner. I should have gotten a bookkeeper. All those should haves, right? We always tell each other, don't should all over yourself. But I think this is really important as you look back at this year, because then your own wisdom and how you've grown and learned is going to be helpful as you move forward. You get to have that 2020 vision looking backwards, and let's take that to our advantage as we do this. All right, number 9 is how has your life calling, your mission, your purpose threaded its way through your podcast? How have you done that well this year? And this might be a little tricky for some people. Maybe you don't know what your mission is. And if you don't, let's talk. I would love to walk you through that and really unpack what are those values, what are those things that you have felt a nudge for in your life and in your being. I think it starts with our identity and who we are. And I would love to unpack that with you. So if you do know those things, write those down. And how have you seen it play out inside of your podcast and through your business? All right, now number 10. This is a heavy hitter. So just be aware, this is going to take some time. Now, I want you to, like I said at the beginning, you have all of your journals, you have your notes, you have your calendar from last year. And I want you to just go through, this is going to be a process, and write down some common themes that you see. What do you notice? And I want you to write them down. Highlight it. You can use colored pencil to go back and underline. On my other podcast, I showed how I do my journal to keep it organized. And I actually have a table of contents that I make sure on every journal is there. And I write in what page I'm doing what as I go. And so that's really helpful for me because I can go back and scan through of, like this was this call with this person. This was this coaching call. This was a business idea. This was a really hard family day. And I can go through and see those themes quickly. So if you want that training, I can put that down below. I did a whole setup of my journal. I think it was last January on Holistic Hearts. So I'll put that down below if you want to take a gander at that. Otherwise, go through, look at your calendar, look at your notes on your phone. What are those common themes that you're seeing over and over again? And really, this is where paying attention to God's prompting or those Holy Spirit nudges inside of you of, wow, I did a lot of dreaming this year, or wow, I really struggled with boundaries this year. All of those things are really important to reflect on. So you're going to take a lot of time going through this. And it's important, you guys. Like I said, I'm going to emphasize that over and over and over again for you to do this. So press pause, do that, and then come back for the next step. All right. So hopefully you did all of those questions. And now, before you move on to creating goals for the new year in your podcast, in your business, I want you to pause. You're just going to sit with all of this information, all of this reflection and gratitude, and just pause, sit, and be grateful for all that you have adventured through in 2022. Some of you guys have had the best year yet. Maybe it's your best year yet in your business, and then it's very tumultuous at home. Or maybe it's great at home and it has felt like pulling teeth to get your podcast going or get your business going. And that's okay. I want you to just sit in it and have the perspective of, I'm grateful for all the things that have happened for me and through me. So no matter what journey that you've been on this past year, you are not alone. I want you to picture Jesus as you sit and you meditate on this past year. Where did you notice him? Where did you feel God's presence and pride and pleasure over you? Where were you brave and courageous? Zephaniah 3:17, it's one of my favorite verses. It says that God jumps up and down in wild emotion over you. The Hebrew or the Greek word right there is called Guwl, Guwl, and it literally means he's jumping up and down in wild emotion over you. That's how proud of you he is. And he's with you every single step of the way. And that, my friends, is so encouraging, right? We have to come to a place of really receiving that truth. That he's proud of you. And he's going to be with you as you take that next step into planning. So part 2 of this exercise of gratitude, reflection, and then what? Part 2 of this exercise is going to be in December, and we are going to dream and vision where we want to go with our podcast. But for now, I really want you to just enjoy this present moment and sit in gratitude of all that you've done and all you've accomplished through God, who has given you this ability because you have said yes. Okay. Again, if you would like to have this exercise in your hand, perhaps maybe you could take a whole day and do this whole thing. I really encourage you to do that. Set aside a whole day to just process, reflect. When do we do that? We get so much information, and yet we really have a hard time processing through what actually has just happened. And I know for me personally, this is something that is put upon my heart to really reflect, process, and bring back to him in gratitude. It has been a hard year for us personally, not in my business. My business has been thriving. And so for me, this is even more so important to go back and sit in gratitude and reflection over how God has come for us in this chapter of our lives. Okay, again, there is this journal reflection, gratitude and reflection journal is going to be available on my website as soon as the show airs. And again, it's only $12. It's a beautiful little journal. And I encourage you to go download it, take time. Maybe you don't have a whole day, but maybe you have a half day. Maybe you could ask your husband for 2 hours to just go and do this and be intentional, and so that we can set you up well for this upcoming year. All right, guys, I love you. I want to hear from you. Please download this journal and share with me what you have been reflecting. And as always, I will see you on Tuesday morning inside of our Facebook group community, and we'll dive deeper into this conversation. Take care. Bye.